Thank you very much. So that is the plan for the Woodsmith mine. So eventually, when everything is built and they're in operations, that's what it's going to look like up above Whitby, which is why sort of that is, I guess that is kind of the mine we all want to see because it looks like sheds. But right, so hang on, let me just click. Okay, so good afternoon. My name is Elly Shaw, and I am joining you from Horsham today in the UK. I work for ERM, um, who are the world's largest sustainability consultancy. And I need a little bit of history in this to sort of explain where we're coming from. So ERM acquired CSA Global, who are a were a sort of mining and geology specialist consultancy operating for this would have been the 40th year. So ERM come from a background of sustainability and environmental services. So with this acquisition, what that's actually done is sort of we've built a sustainable mining services team. And and this sort of feeds on from what Rich has been saying, which was really relevant in the fact that we've been quite siloed before. Um, so now we've kind of created this team of professionals who cover all the different bases, and the vision that comes out of this is the mind that we all want to see. Um, Now, I do have a couple of Slidos in there, so I don't know if you would feel happy to navigate over to slido.com and let's see if this works. Alternatively, there is a QR code. Um, so, what do you think of when you think of the mind that we all want to see? Um, Obviously, if you type in a few words, then fingers crossed they will appear. If they don't, then two people are typing. This is great, fantastic. So minimal impact on the environment, community engagement, hidden, yeah, perfect. We want to make sure that greener, low impact, local community support, circular resources, clean, attractive. Everything's very aesthetic, isn't it? Um, Opportunities, sustainable. Now this is awesome. I'm conscious of time, so I am gonna jog on quite quickly. Um, if I can find my mouse, there it is. So on our side, we've got a bit of a vision for it, and it's sort of providing like that framework that we can all use to actually put together a sustainable mine that means that we can achieve the best practices for the best value. So the approach behind this, right? So here we go. Typical conventional mine life cycle. You start off in your generative, and you've got these sort of stage gates as you go through. If we consider ourselves on a journey together today, then these are almost traffic lights. At each of these points, you will make a decision on the project. You'll push more capital into it. You'll get more data. One of the biggest feed into your operation is information. And whether that's at the exploration stage or as you gather more data as you come through feasibility into your actual mine development. But then at the end, you've still got, you don't want to be thinking about mine closure when you hit the end of operations, and back to what Richard was saying, that needs to come right back in at the exploration phase. So, I mean, typically what we do, you find your asset, you just push everything to get it into production. We need to get to the next financing decision. We need to get to this point and this point. But it creates these sort of silos, and you're losing opportunity at each of these stages to be gathering some of the information that you need to be able to sort of be getting more opportunity from it. So, and yeah, just mentioning that, it tends to go into, oh, we'll think about that down the line, such as, in the past, I would say mind closure has often been one of those things. So what we're trying to do is kind of take all that underlying data and that value and put that into a total value per block within the mine life cycle. What it does is, so rather than this linear approach, we're thinking of it in a circular approach. So we want the information from each of these phases to all be feeding into that value per block from the beginning. And they are supported by those pillars that are integral to building the mine that we all want to see, which is, your mine planning, your water, your ESG, the stewardship, that overarching sort of holistic movement, and then, carbon and the regeneration. So looking at that, thinking about our value per block and the topic of, this conference, next question, what do you think are the main risks to mining operations? And if you saw Mark's talk earlier, you might have a couple of ideas around what might be coming up. And again, that's if people are still here and haven't sort of potted away while I've been talking. Technical risks, public opposition, communities, governance. So a lot of this, and again with the sort of EY24 diagram, which says, ESG is the biggest risk. And that's kind of why I'm talking today, because I'm a geologist, but within the team, we want to combine it all. We want to be able to integrate the geology side and that technical side with the ESG and the environmental. And that's how we believe that we can build the mine you all want to see. We all want to see, you, me, everyone. But yeah, so, whoa, no rocks in the ground. Oh, okay. No, that's right. So, but yeah, and what I'm going to do, we're going to head back to our little journey. Here we go. What is this? Worst case scenario, we're chugging down the road, and what we're actually trying to avoid, in all seriousness, is these potholes. We're all familiar with them. You're coming in, your ore's not where you expected it to be, but it's understanding why. Is the drill spacing unsuitable? Is the ore body much more complex than we were anticipating? Are you over mining or undermining? Considering that more tonnage through the crusher does not necessarily mean more metal. So if you're mining and, it's extra cost, it's extra comminution costs for the crushing, your reagents in the process plant, the space in the tailings, they're all things that can be avoided. So it's looking at this in the sort of risk sense, because if you can sort of fix potholes before they actually turn into big old potholes, then it's going to leave you in a much better situation and less of an emergency, that, oh my gosh, the recovery's tanked. And so what I'm going to do is move, and again, I'm focusing a little bit geologically, but that's where I sit. But basically potholes can be avoided. Oh wait, so that's my mum in a massive pothole. So, don't do that to mum. So this is a much greener looking image. Obviously the red one signifies terrible. But this is kind of more of what what we're thinking. So you're on the same path, you're going through these linear stage gates. As you get more information, you're the confidence in your block model is increasing. But you're using these tools like ore body intelligence, for instance, getting that geometallurgical data early on helps to build a better process, optimize your plan. Reconciliation is a hugely important factor, as we all know, tracking our ore and making sure that it goes to the right place, but also identifying areas where things aren't doing what they're supposed to be. That's the purpose of a good reconciliation practice. So I didn't mention at the beginning, but there is a bio. I've basically spent the majority of my career on mine sites, and often we do get the sort of pushback from your senior management that says, "Oh no, oh we don't need to look at that right now. It's not really a problem." But it's one of those things where if you sort of quantify, if you could send an extra 5 777s, about 100 tons, at 2.5 grams per ton gold to the processing plant, you can make an extra $100,000. So when is the time to really be looking at those potholes is kind of the question I'm getting to. No more pictures of mum. That's sort of, that's the whole thing integrated. So all of the different study stages, and also looking at, tailings closure, the ESG side of things. So that's the sustainable mining services approach. But obviously within geology, there's also, it's kind of how it's that circular approach of how is what we think is the best way to go about trying to fix some of these issues. So, if you identify these crucial areas, but the earlier you can design and plan well at these stages of operation, is the more opportunity to add value. And that's basically what it is. It's finding out where your gaps are, designing a roadmap to fill them. What points are you measuring, agreeing on a roadmap, collaborating. The people on site are the ones who know most about your ore body, and that's really important, just for sort of feeding into that direction, and then sort of capturing that data, tracking it, improving it, and then guiding to success. So I've got a case study here. So this is a new mining operation that was opening. We had a strong relationship with them already, but their team had sort of like limited open pit experience. The deposit itself was particularly complex. So sort of using this circular and this sort of holistic approach geologically as well, working through these areas allows you to actually reach the goal. And obviously the goal for this was to get the project on track. They achieved ramp up within 3 months, and they've consistently hit their production targets. So it's coming back to looking at these things early on in the process and trying to do things right from the beginning. Because there's typically they're common issues, but it's just hard to sort of work through them sometimes. And coincidentally, this client, they did come back because the other issue that they had was clays. So again, it's the recovery issue. We've got clays coming in, we're not sure where they're coming from. Where are those measure points? And to track that material actually made a huge impact on the recovery. So really, really important to be looking at. So I will finish up there. So that's my email if anyone has any questions outside of this, and LinkedIn. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very, very much, Ellie. Absolutely brilliant and really interesting to see what everybody was thinking, I think, in terms of the mine as a whole. One question for you before we move on to our next little fireside chat that we're going to have, and that is you spoke about when you've been working on site and where there's some very obvious improvements perhaps that can be made either immediately or something that's going to lead to benefit over the long term, and the potential reticence, shall we say politely, of senior leaders to acknowledge or listen to those ideas, let alone implement them. Do you have any hints or tips as to how you can better approach those senior leaders to get them on board and maybe think that it's all their idea?
Absolutely. And it sounds awful, but they're very value driven. The dollar signs are really what does it. So if you can actually show by doing this, this is how much money has been saved, this is the value added. Think blast movement, for instance. If you can say, using this blast movement, this is how much ore loss and dilution was not value lost by sending things to the wrong place. And then I find you get by them very quickly.
So try and speak in their language, I guess, would be another way.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Fantastic.
And don't geologically overcomplicate it.
What?
I
You're
know
not
I
allowed
love
to
it,
get
but not
technical?
everyone else does.
Awesome. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Ellie. Unfortunately, we need to move on to the next presentation, but fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you very much.